and welcome back. Once again, I am your host, Rhonda Klch, and I am so glad that you joined us today. We have the most amazing people that are here to help educate you at the Battle Collective. And with us right now is Michelle, the Sales Diva. How are you?
I'm so good, Rhonda. How are you?
I am so glad that you are part of the Battle Collective. I know that we have been meeting with so many people over the last few days, connecting, and everybody that's part of this organization, as James Dixon put it, we're a family. We want that family environment. We want people to come feeling that they came to the right place because we're actually here to go from step A to step B and have them take accountability. And when it comes to the sales process, there is nobody better, especially here in Utah, than you. So tell us a little bit about who the Sales Diva is and how you got started.
Well, I was raised by a single mother and a grandmother in Orange County, California. And I learned early on as a little girl that if you want something, you almost have to go do it yourself. You got to figure it out. I didn't really have a lot of people watching over me or giving me rules because my parents worked all the time and my grandma only spoke Spanish. So I just figured out, I was very resourceful, like my mom used to tell me, as a single mom, we can't afford this. And I remember looking out the door and people had these nice cars and they were driving Ferraris. I'm like, well, what's so special about that guy? Why does he have all the money? I just saw things so much easier than the average person. Even though I wasn't given any opportunities to go meet people like that, I thought, well, when I get around someone like that, I'm just going to ask them, how did they make money? And I'm just going to do the same thing. I just remember being little thinking it was easier than everyone was saying.
I think one of the big challenges we have right now is, I think, especially where we are in society, right? You have kids, I have kids. Our society has gotten so accustomed to texting and emailing that there's a certain level of socialization that may have been lost. But when you are in the art of closing a deal, it's all about communication. So how has it been for you when you have to speak to clients about prepping them for that sale and that close?
That's a great question because I always think of that a sale is just better communication. I don't even like the word sale, right? Because if you communicate properly and you ask the right questions, then a transaction occurs, whether you make them feel good, whether you invite them to an event, someone moves into town and you've connected them to somebody, that's a sale, like you walk into a room and you're meeting someone, you're single, you have to sell them on your energy, on your smile, on your eye contact. So I kind of took all the approach of connecting with people, and it worked in my benefit when I got into outside sales. So my career of choice, I went to school to be a marriage and family therapist, and I remember someone telling me, because for me it's all about the fun. If you can make this kind of money in outside sales, you don't have to be on a time clock, because I remember my early jobs, everyone was mad at me because I'd take too long of a lunch, or I wanted to be talking too long and I didn't make it back to the office. And I remember thinking, why does everybody care where I'm at? Why is there all this time restraints? Because my personality doesn't do well with that. So when I heard about this outside sales process, I got into B2B professional sales after I got my degrees in marriage and family therapy and I got my MBA. Thought I was going to be a therapist. And someone told me you can make 6 figures by going around to people's office and talking to them and buying them lunch. And I'm like, oh my goodness, sign me up. I'm like, what is that? And that's how I became a sales professional. So actually, that was first step of getting good at sales.
So right now, I know you do a lot with corporate training.
Yes.
And companies reach out to you, and you have an entire strategy. And one of your strategies that you use is first your personality test. Tell us a little bit about that and what sort of outcomes should people expect?
So my passion in college was gender science and understanding the differences between men and women. And so when I got into the personality testing and all that, I was fascinated by it because I'm like, not everybody's the same. I already knew we were different with our cultures because I was raised by a Latina mother. And so our culture was very different. And I remember friends thinking we're weird because we say things and do things a certain way. And I'm like, no, that's just our culture, whatever. So when I went to college and learned it, I was super fascinated. So I just utilized what I learned in college in my outside sales job. And so I remember how I came about with my testing is that when I was top 2% in medical device sales, they wanted me to go and speak on this big stage. And I remember thinking, if I could just be number 3, I won't have to speak. I don't want to get up there because I don't know how I did so well. I just do what I'm supposed to do. But I remember literally just being the girl. It's like, go and talk to some people and get 14 deals. I'd go talk to some people, get 20 deals. I'm like, I need a buffer just in case so I can go to the beach on Friday. It was all around fun. I didn't really care. I didn't know what numbers I had. But when they had me go on that stage, I go, what in the heck am I going to say? I don't know how I have a high closing ratio. I'm just myself, and I'm honest, and I tell them we're not the cheapest in town, but we're the best. And I finally went up there, and I remember being here in Utah, fast forward California to Utah, and everyone's like, we are terrified of sales. And I remember thinking, when I went on that stage.
Which, by the way, is pretty funny considering Utah is like the MLM capital of the world.
Well, that's why. They're entrepreneurial, but they're terrified, and they don't like the part where you have to call and follow up. You have to talk to new people. They didn't like it. They're not good at it. So they're doing everything else all day besides the bringing in the revenue, which, in my opinion, you need to do first. I wouldn't have a job in outside corporate America sales, having that salary and car, if I didn't hit my numbers. So for me, I came with that mentality. It's like, what are these entrepreneurs doing? Like, they have one deal a month and they're okay with that? It's like, what are your goals? Like, let's go, chop, chop, you know? So I created a program around, first, when I got on that stage, you got to understand who you're talking to. And you've got to give people, no one gives a care about me. It doesn't matter what company I'm with. It doesn't matter what I'm giving to them. It's not about me. It's about the person in the other side. So I just learned very early, what's Rhonda? She looks kind of like a little New Yorker, a little Italian. She's comfortable in her skin. She's going to be comfortable for my natural personality to talk to. And then it's like, Rhonda, tell me, what's going on in your world? What's one thing that's been bothering you at your business? And then I'm quiet. If you ask questions 20% of the time, you're quiet 80%, you will get everything you need to know on how you can motivate them to work with you.
And I think you and I were speaking about this before as well, because I think one of my superpowers, you know, we always talk about our superpower. I know I went over this with James as well. And one of my superpowers, as much as I love to speak, is to actually just be quiet and listen. Because you can learn so much about somebody, their dynamic, their body, how they're moving, if they're comfortable, just by listening and watching, which is so important. So we obviously have such an amazing agenda. What are we expecting Michelle, the Sales Diva, to deliver for us?
Well, my number one goal with any event I do is I love that we're like family. I want to make everyone feel 100% comfortable when I'm around them, and then nothing is off limits. Talk to me about everything. Talk to me about your biggest problem, because I promise sometimes someone's problem, it's as easy as one little idea and solution that they didn't think of. And then holding their hand in the process to fixing that solution is my superpower. So I will do it for you. I'll go call that person for you. I'll introduce you to my friend, and he will buy from you. And I think just giving people that comfort that you love them like a person and helping them in a process that's scary to them makes all the difference. So I, like you, I don't plan. I go in, I read the energy, and I go with my entire heart, and I just deliver anything people need.
I love it. And I think what happens too along the way with the things that you do for your clients, it does help their self-esteem. Sometimes it's just such a scary thing to go out there, or the thought of making a cold call, or the thought of embarrassing yourself, right? But I think the more you learn about yourself is when you put yourself in an uncomfortable position. Those are the real identifiers of where you have growth. So if somebody turns around and says, I really am just not comfortable, they need to be uncomfortable in order for them to grow. And I think that for us, especially with the Battle Collective, we're hoping that the people that come to see us here not only recognize that we are a team of professionals that are here to help, but that we're also here to hold them accountable. And I think a lot of the other platforms have a lot of rah-rah behind it, right? There's so much energy, and there's something to be said for that. But at the end of the day, when there's no real deliverable, they're walking away, and they've had time to process and digest. We want to keep everybody moving and keep them in our family. So people like you are so important, because we all have our own unique values. So if people are watching and listening, how can they reach out to the Sales Diva and learn more about the services that you offer?
Basically, you can go to my website, www.outoftheboxseminars, because Out of the Box Consulting is my business, outoftheboxseminars.com, or follow me on Instagram at Sales Diva Michelle, 2 L's, and write me. You can text me. My number's, you can find me out there. You'll find me. You can't miss the Sales Diva.
Can't miss the Sales Diva. I love it. Well, I'm so glad that you are part of the Battle Collective family. It has been a joy working with you so far. So until next time, stay tuned. We're getting ready to bring you another guest.